We're sitting at like 12 or 13 right now, not including. Oops.
You said you guys held a course yesterday. How did you guys do it? Was it just all in slides or a little bit in game?
So we went off the slides for about 20 minutes. It was maybe 20, 30 minutes slide deck, and then went to one of the training servers to do prac app for like buddy team comms. I went a little into weapons employment, just because, mostly for the communication piece. Like, hey, this is how you can talk them into, like walk them into target. Not necessarily how to maximize the weapon system, but mostly just, and then bounding. So we spent about an hour there.
Okay. You wanna Donkey, do you wanna hop with me to another VC really quickly? And then talk through this together? Okay.
Yep.
Be right back, gentlemen. Ladies and
Okay.
Apologies for that. Firstly, I wanted to say it's Mental Health Awareness Month, everybody. Check in on your loved ones, right? It's important. I don't know how you guys do holidays over there in the EU, but definitely in the United States, we do care about our people. So I'm just reminding everybody, please check in on those people. You never know what kind of battle they're fighting on the inside. Okay. That being said, today might be a little crazy for everybody. Just bear with us. All right. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand the keys to Donkey. He's going to drive us.
Hey, howdy, hey. Some of you guys had me yesterday. I was working with Sapper. We're going to go over, I'm going to not speed through, but I do more in the training section of like the hands-on portion, less of the classroom. These are just going to be some basic notes, so on and so forth, that you guys can go through and kind of look at and see. And then when we actually get into the game to do the hands-on stuff, I will go a lot more in depth for the squad that I'm with, or overall, just as like a way to get some better hands-on, because I'm a visual creature, so I have to see it, and then I'm also a hands-on guy, so I got to do it to understand it. So, but fire team level training. This is the block. All right, section 1. We're gonna go to AR employment. All right, primary role suppression. Denial, area denial is going to be the big thing. Primary role suppression is deny enemy movement, degrade their accuracy with a volume of fire, more than precision. The AR is the base of fire of the fire team. Around you, they're the last to move and the last to live fire. Enable. Every bound the rifleman pair makes is enabled by suppression. If you're not killing, you're allowing your team to kill. Going down, kind of the basics of the weapon systems. All right, the saw. It's a belt-fed high-capacity. It's good for sustained fires. Has bipod, so you can employ it. Increases your accuracy. Use the bipod. Don't try and stand and fire. The closer you get to a ledge or a tree or fully in the prone, you're going to drastically increase your rates of fire. PKM, RPD. PKM is going to be very comparable to the 240. All right, it's lighter, so that's why you'll see it in squads than a 240, but it's still very capable. It is similarly capable to the 240. The RPD is the same round as your 7.62 or your AK-47s that is used in the AZ faction. It's not going to go as far, but it does have just a little. It's not going to go as far accurately, but it does still carry a pretty decent amount of damage. If you can deploy your bipod basically by finding yourself a good position to set up on, that still gives you your good fields of fire, you're going to be fine. You're going to be good. Try to avoid, again, standing and kneeling for your application of fire, unless you have some sort of cover in front of you that you can basically set the gun on. All right. Economy of rounds is going to be huge. I'm going to do a quick overview of the rates of fire. So sustained rate of fire is going to be a 6 to 9 round burst with a 4 to 5 second pause, and that's going to come out to about 100 rounds a minute. Your rapid rate of fire is going to be a 6 to 9 round burst, and we're going to cut that time in between burst in half, so it's going to be a 2 to 3 second pause, and that's going to give you 200 rounds a minute. Cyclic rate of fire is going to be a continuous rate of fire with no pauses. All right, so those are your 3 rates of fire that you'll use when using the belt-fed weapon systems, to include the 240. All right, and that just kind of puts everybody on the same page as far as the weapon systems, loadouts, and stuff like that. What makes a good AR position? Good positions are clear lanes of fire that are going to cover down likely avenues of approach, that are going to be maybe some tree lines. So if you're overlooking an ODA or an open danger area, and you're overlooking the other tree line, that's going to be somewhere. Looking down some of the trails, You can use them in alleyways if you're fighting in some of the streets, like Hambori. If you're looking down one of the main roads or one of the side roads or an alleyway or some of the smaller trenches that have been added, looking over those are going to be good. You're covering your team's blind side during the maneuver. All right, not just the FTL, but the team. All right, you are there to assist your team. Anytime you can get to a place of elevation is going to be a plus. Just make sure that you're not skylining yourself, right? You don't want to be standing up and then there's the one human silhouette, figure at the top of the ridge. Gee, I wonder where we're getting shot from. It's right there, right? Making sure that if you're working with some of your other weapon system, your other key weapon systems, that you're overlapping your fields of fire. All right. You want to overlap. You want to try and maximize your weapons capability. SAWs, 240s, PKMs, RPDs, they are all direct fire weapon systems. So I can't sit there and just lob stuff in cover or in defilade from it with these weapon systems. All right. So you have to be able to have a direct line to that target to kill it. Right. Things to avoid: setting up right next to your team leader or your 320 gunner. Right. You don't want to put two key weapon systems next to each other. You also don't want your team leader right next to you, because the second you start shooting, they're going to start zeroing in on you. So give yourself a wide berth, not too wide as to become to where you can't be helped, but close enough to where you can still be of assistance. Making sure that when you're shifting and lifting, that you're confirming that you're going to the correct side. So if you're flanking, if you have a flank element and they're going from right to left, make sure that you're shifting to the left. Don't shift into them. Try not to have your, Satyr. Regardless, if you can limit moving your light machine guns or your medium machine guns first, try to limit that. Get that assault element up there to push up, clear out first, and then once they have a base of fire, then you move up and then you can pick up that base of fire. Ammunition resupply. A lot of people probably go dry pretty quick, so making sure that you can go through and get a resupply. So start of the match, distro some of it out if you can. Burn and then rejoin once you've distroed some of that out, so you can have a couple of mags or the 150 round, the 100 round sacks for the saw or the drums. Make sure you distro those out before. Hit a quick respawn, come back in. Now you have ammo for the rest of the fight. If you give each person in your team one, you just gave yourself almost an entire another half of a combat loadout for yourself. So, but if you do start getting to that 50%, call it up, start working that work either, and then run that to the team leader to the squad leader to the platoon sergeant PL, so you guys can get a patrol base down or a cache or so on and so forth. All right. Any questions on automatic rifle employment? Like I said, I'm gonna go kind of quick over the slideshows because I'm going to go more in depth to where you can see what a lot of this looks like in game, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Cobra has had a pretty good question. Is there an instance in Bellum to use plunging fire into defilade? I'm responding to him now via text. I said most likely we will use Grenadiers for this, as it's far easier to plunge those 40s into those spaces. Comparative that to ARs or MGs, it is much harder to do plunging fire, I think, in Bellum, just based on distance. I think like a crazy engagement range that I've seen people try to do is at least like 400 meters in Bellum, and I think that's a little. We're not really doing any sort of effective fire. They're not in any sort of kill zone at 400 meters. Plus, we're having to. It's almost like fishing. You know what I mean? Like it's like fishing fishing in the open ocean. It's hard. It's rough.
So plunging fire can be used. I mean, plunging fire is just going to be a respect in respect to the gun ground target. So like if respect to the ground, I mean, if I'm up high shooting down low, that is plunging fire. But trying to lob rounds, 1,800 meters away into a beaten zone, no, there's one, the map, the map's big enough to do it, but we don't have a way to, truly track those rounds or spot impacts to see if it's actually going to be effective. So I would say that's where you're going to start tying in your indirect fire assets or your Carl G's, your RPGs, stuff like that. Your Grenadiers, though.
I think and this kind of goes hand in hand with planning. I think that is also more of we're going to try to deny them their own QRF, for example. Maybe they're coming in from spawn, and maybe we just want to kind of deter them from reinforcing their main battle group. Therefore, we can spy ourselves a little bit more. This is mostly for a planning thing, gentlemen. So mostly we can plan to deny those reinforcements and hopefully find, fix, and fuck and finish where their main battle group is. Right? Does that make sense? Are we tracking with that, everybody? I believe so. All right.
All right.
All yours.
On to the next one. Grenadier employment. Okay. Again, we're looking at area denial. All right. So 2 different types of grenade launchers. Actually, there's 3, but same principle. Just added to the third, the other one from Seder. So it is not a precision weapon. It is an area weapon. Use it to suppress positions, generally things that cannot be reached by direct fire. So if they're hiding behind a log wall, can't necessarily shoot through the logs, but I can throw a grenade behind the walls, right? So, or if they're down in a ditch, I can't shoot through the dirt, but I can get a 40 mic into that ditch. Enemy behind berm, reverse slopes, ditches. These are great positions for it. Bunkers, windows. If you can get good to start, if you're close enough or you are good enough with that weapon system, getting it through doorways, getting it through windows, awesome. And then here's your battle. And then this is what I was talking about. This is your battle buddy. So like the Grenadier and the Saw, they have to work together, because if they're working separate, they're not going to be able to maximize each other's capabilities. But when they're working together, they're going to be able to take out a good majority of the targets in that area. All right. Grenadiers and ARs work together. AR suppresses defenders while the Grenadier lobs rounds onto the position and then announce, grenade out, or prepping 320, right? That way people know. So yesterday, with the class we were talking about, you have your setup time for some of these things. Like if you're running around with your rifle and then you have to switch to your grenade launcher, it takes about 3 to 4 seconds to get that grenade launcher out. And if you didn't reload it from your last engagement, you're adding another 2 to 3 seconds to that timeline before you can start getting that effective fire on them. All right. Saws take 13 seconds to reload in this game. So being able to coordinate with each other and understand what you guys are doing is going to be huge. All right. Danger close awareness. All right. The minimum arming distance on these should be 15 meters. So anything inside of 15 meters that is going to impact, it should not detonate. But if you find yourself within 15 meters of that 40 mic going off, whether it's from the GP25 or the 320, you will find yourself in a potential world of pain due to the frag radius becoming like you're getting within the casualty radius of the weapon system. Kill radius for a 40 mic is 5 meters. So anything within 5 meters or a drastically enclosed space, they're cooked. Anything outside of those 5 meters, if you get cooked by a 40 mic outside of 5 meters, which I mean, it's still 15 feet. It ain't no short distance. All right. So next section, we're going to go into advanced medical. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. China here, and he's going to run this. If you guys, or before I turn this over, sorry, do I have any questions on the Grenadier role? Same call out.
I have the same as problem. Maybe when people having that problem, it's about distance. Do you know any local way to measure distance between me and the target? Because sometimes you're wasting just GL to calibrate where is that thing. Is that 200 away or 300 away? So you're losing some frags just to calibrate the distance between you and them.
Yeah, so I actually have a really good point to make on this because I was teaching somebody in the one of the training servers like a week or two ago. Something you can utilize, and this also goes hand in hand with effective communication between you and your AR, is you can
Mhm.
use your smoke grenades as a spotting round. Right. I think the Grenadier gets about two of them. Right. There's really
Yeah,
only
2 or 4.
two. Yeah, there's only really a few uses for those. It's either marking enemy locations or spotting. So something I do when I'm playing the Grenadier role is I will kind of use my like reference points, my own internal reference points, because obviously there's no like accurate ranging. We don't have any sort of we don't have any SOFLAMs or anything like that. We have no laser designators. So what I'll do is I'll kind of judge based the distance based on sound, based on what I can see. First of all, and when I look at them, do I only see like a T? You know what I mean in terms of like torso head. If I'm seeing
Uh,
that, I'm going to judge that based on like 300 meters, right? Ideally, GLs aren't going to be like they're not going to be crazy effective because what's the biggest question we have is like how do we follow up on any of those employments, right? So I try to keep our engagements down to 200 or less. So a good starting point is to start at like 150. Use those rounds. Try to ID like, all right, are those smoke rounds landing close to them or not? And then you can do additional math based on that before you start using explosives. Because the biggest thing is it's hard to follow up on something that just does a small poof and there's fragmentation all over the place versus something that is telling you, hey, I'm right here. Hey, I'm right here. Hey, I'm right here. Is that kind of making sense? Does that kind of answer your question a little bit?
yeah, but is there is any way to switch between the frag GL and the red smoke GL?
Yes, it's
Yes.
this. Yeah, it's the same way that you would pick between your smoke grenade and your regular grenade, your
Your
frag
frag
grenade. Yep, you just
hold G.
hold the reload, and then it'll give you the same circle, and then you'll be able to
Okay.
pick between your two. But as
Okay.
far as range
Perfect.
estimate, yeah, as far as range estimation goes, the best thing I could tell you about range estimation for this game until we get topo maps or some sort of range finding or some sort of optic setup that gives us that ability to get a defined range
Mhm.
is you're just going to have to spend time in a training server and then, just start eyeballing and understanding, what that distance is kind of like to you. And then like what I've done in the past is, hey, I'm going to set you out at what I think is 100 meters. I don't take damage in the training server. I'm going to shoot at
Yeah.
him until I get 100 meters. I'm going to back up until I get 100 meters. And then I look
Mhm.
at it and I go, okay, so this is what he looks like at 100 meters in an open field. This is what he looks like at 100 meters in, lightly vegetated terrain. This is what he looks like next to a building. And I'll
Oh,
do that at 150, 200, 250. And I tend to side with China. I'm not really going to try and clang and bang at 300 meters in this game. It's already hard enough to see. I don't want to be, shooting rounds off into the ether, just wasting supplies.
okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right, Mr. China. I will turn over the medical portion to you.
All right.
And then,
Okay.
are
So
you gonna stream, or do you want me to keep it up?
I'll start streaming because I'm gonna do a little bit of drawing on my super awesome tactical recreation software that was specifically
Perfect.
given to me for free when I bought this computer. All
Very
right.
well.
You guys can tune in. Let me know when you're in. I'll probably. Ooh, that's a little crazy to say. I'll probably just be able to follow up on it. So something to consider when we do get into medical is that a lot of people think it's just bandages and tourniquets. If that was life was that simple, I would be a millionaire by now. You know what I mean? That being said, let's talk about some medical things here. Typically, when we take first contact, we're usually going to take a casualty. It's incorporated in your plans. That's why we have medics all over the place, right? That being said, your job as a medic is to be a soldier first, right? If my buddy Donkey here goes down, first thing I'm going to do is return fire, right? Because we need to gain fire superiority in the firefight before I start worrying about trying to treat someone. While that's taking place, I can kind of multitask here and I can kind of manage. Hey, bud, Are you up? Are you good? Are you green? What's going on? Can you move to cover? Right? If they can't move to cover, I kind of base it off a GCS scale between like 15 and 0, right? Like if they are responding to me, I know that Bellum has a stage 1 and 2 consciousness level. If they're responding to me, I have a little bit of time. If he's not responding to me after initially being engaged, we have a problem. Okay, and now I'm going to have to work with this gentleman. I might have to move him to cover myself, or I might have to have someone else do it, as to not risk my own life. Because if I go down, guess what happens? We're all going down, right? It's just going to get worse. It's going to spiral. So that being said, let's talk about that really quickly. Should we be in a, I don't know, a wedge formation, right? Excuse me, my drawing is horrible. Okay, forgive me. A little bit, I could correct him, but we'll be okay. Should this gentleman go down in the firefight, and let's say our medic for some reason is here, okay, this is our little medic drawn by a cross. First thing that we're going to do is seek some sort of cover and/or concealment and return fire. Most times out of 10, point man's going to be the first one to engage, right? ARs, when we talk about AR and placement, you notice how we keep him furthest from someone leading the team here? That's because he's going to become the biggest gun on the battlefield, right? And he's going to take a lot of aggro. That gives you some time when we gain fire superiority to communicate and work with your buddy here. Should he go down? Are we kind of tracking with that? Is everybody good with care under fire? Super simple. TQs, bandages, not a whole lot of bandages. We're not doing it all right there. Move him to cover, move him to concealment, or direct him to cover and or concealment. Does that make sense? Are we good with that? A lot of the times too, it's common sense. For example, if I get shot in the chest and I take, I don't know, multiple rounds, let's see some AZ dude hits me right in the AVS and he just starts ripping into me. First thing I'm going to do is be like, I'm going to lose this gunfight. It's non-sustainable for me. I'm going to move. Right? That buddy's typically going to run at you and be like, I just got shot to hell and I need some sort of aid. Right? That being said, so we kind of covered two of these topics really quickly. Tactical field care, it's the same thing that goes with it goes hand in hand with care under fire, right? Tourniquet, bandages, look for additional wounds. What you're gonna do is prioritize those wounds, though. So a lot of the time, with someone with multi-system trauma, which can be characterized as more than one injury to the to the body, right? You might have a torso injury, you might have a leg or whatever. Look for the most critical one. The most critical one can be determined by the darkest, like red GSW icon, which is a gunshot wound. For those of you who don't know it, it's penetrating trauma, right? That's going to be the kind of trauma that you're going to be dealing with in Bellum anyways. Most people aren't really having heart attacks out in the field. Okay, heat stroke maybe, I don't know, maybe they'll incorporate something like that. But that being said, then we start following into the March protocol and our algorithm. There's also two other things you guys can utilize. They are called XCAB and XABC. Okay, and all that is trauma, circulation, airway, breathing. Vice versa for XABC, trauma, airway, breathing, circulation, right? We don't have to worry too much in terms of airway in the current state of Bellum when we do, but I will still cover it just in case you encounter it and for some reason you miss out on a communication from me or you are unable to get a hold of me in terms of these medical things. You can reach out to me at any point. I will respond when it comes to medical. I teach IRL. I work in a hospital now. I spend a lot of time. This is something I care about. So we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about this because, as far as I understand, it definitely needs to be talked about, and I kind of got that from leadership. Now, that being said, part of your job as a medic too is to be situationally aware, right? My whole thought process is where's the nearest cover and conceal, right? If I need to set up a CCP here, where can I set up one, right? Now, you'll have designated CCPs that are usually established by leadership, but it's also your job as a medic to accurately this is a good place for a CCP, right? What you kind of want to do, at least in Bellum's sake, welcome in, is you want to avoid structures, especially like the mud structures. Let me ask you, how many times have you guys been in a building and it's gotten hit by an RPG? Quite frequently, right?
Every time.
Every time.
Every time, right? So let's use our common sense here with that, right? If I'm in an engagement and I have multiple bodies down, okay, and Op 4 is looking for me. I'm keeping low, so on and so forth. Where do you think they're going to assume you are? The nearest piece of cover and concealment, right? So that's, and I've seen that time and time again where people are tucking into the first building they can and they're getting ripped to shit for it. Unfortunate. We got to be a little better than that. So CCPs are a place you can determine yourself as a medic and be like, hey, bring those casualties to me. I'm here at such and such designated location. Maybe you're a further in defilade. Maybe you're behind structures. You know what I'm saying? Typically, what I try to do is set myself up in a position where if the enemy is going to push my location, they have to expose themselves, right? That way we can kind of manage those fields of fire a little bit more effectively, but also I'm in a bit of a safer location because my gun's down. I'm not exactly, you know what I'm not exactly combat capable, right? That being said, falling back towards the March algorithm and patient priority, the goal of a medic is to get whoever you can combat capable. If your buddy has sustained multi-system trauma, he's red all over. I'm gonna black tag him, and I'm moving on to the guy who's got one GSW, maybe to the head, right, for Bellum's sake. And I'm gonna try to get that guy up because it's gonna take me less time to do so, and I can get him back in the gunfight. Are we good with that? Do we have any questions so far? Sick. All right. Consolation. We can talk about Casavax and 9 lines. And it's very, very simple. In terms of Bellum, I don't think you should be too focused on 9 lines. However, you might find them in other games, right? And the biggest thing is location, number of your casualties, the urgency of those casualties. We'll talk about missed reports a little bit later. Need of type of vehicle extraction, whether it's an FLA for my Army guys out there, and then communicating that to an SL, right? So he can send it up the ladder in terms of radio communication. Or you can call it yourself. All right. Mask guys. Gotta love it. This kind of goes back to what I was talking about in terms of patient priority. So, first thing that you're going to do is gain some situational awareness. How many patients do I have down? I got 3. All right, cool. Make sure that we're still combat capable over anything else. You cannot, think about this, you cannot render effective aid if your immediate area is still red, right? Contact is very close. They're encroaching on your position. What do you think I should focus on? Firefight or trying to render aid? You know what I mean? If we've got the people, I'm going to focus on rendering aid. Sometimes what I've done, at least in Bellum, is I'll talk my buddies through it. And they'll be like, hey man, doing really good. Keep your gun up. Stay in the fight. And I've got you. Okay? Because sometimes people get a little too tunnel vision. Oh, I've been shot. And they don't have necessarily trust in their medics to do their job. It's your responsibility to make sure that they are taken care of, that they're going to be okay, and that you're there, right? Sometimes you got to be a little calm to the chaos, right? They teach that in the civilian aid too. Is like you need to be calm to the chaos because everybody's going crazy, right? Now, what is a mass cas? To me, a mass cas is any amount of casualties that is too much for me to take care of, right? I'm pretty effective as a medic. I can take care of at least 4 people, and I can get them up real quick, right? And we'll talk about effective ways to get people up immediately, and after we cover this masscast part, because it's gonna kind of more tips and tricks that I'll kind of share with you guys. That being said, when it comes to designating what patients are easier to get up, because again, we need to get people back in the fight, right? As I'm looking to see what interventions I can do immediately to kind of starve off their wounds a little bit, and then focus on the people who can get up. So, for example, if I come across 2 patients, one's got a GSW to the chest, and for some reason he went unconscious, and another guy has multi-system trauma, both wounds have been engaged, and he's been shot in the head, right? So he's kind of shot in a triangle, right? I'm gonna maybe apply those TQs and go right back to that other patient. I'm gonna push fluid, stop the bleed, he'll be okay, and I'm gonna go back to rendering aid to the other patient, right? Sometimes it's just good to communicate to another person, hey, what kind of injuries does he have? Give me a misreport, whatever, right? That guy might not know what a misreport is, so forgive me, but he can communicate to you what kind of injuries he has, and you could probably direct aid. Hey, I need you to just get TQ, stop the bleed, I'll be there. right? Are we good with that? Does anybody have any questions? No? All right. That being said, CCPs go hand in hand with mass cases, right? Casualty collection points. If you don't know what a casualty collection point is, it's a predetermined location where we're getting those casualties to and we can start working on them, right? There's a lot more that goes into a CCP, but for Bellum's sake, safest location you can treat multiple people, right? Should you have security. All right. We're going to talk a little bit more about tips and tricks, so we're going to go back to the March algorithm here. What the number one cause of people going unconscious is either sustained trauma or hypovolemia. Hypovolemia is low fluid volume, right? That's what's going to cause people to go unconscious. Okay. How do we fix that? Well, we add more fluid. Stop the bleed, put more fluid in. Okay. Simple and effective. It'll get people up immediately. Sometimes, if we're doing two rescuer being that there's more than one person working on a casualty, I will direct that person to solely focus on stopping the bleed, right? We don't need 3 people trying to stop the bleed on one patient. It's not effective, and it'll just prolong this guy being down because we don't know necessarily what injuries you're working on other than people, oh, I'm working on chest. Okay, cool. Like, that's fine. But we need to focus on getting this guy up as quickly as possible. You're the medic. You have fluid. Push it, right? I like to say avoid using depressants, especially in a space like this. If he's up and he's good to go and he's just in pain, sure. But ideally, like in the real world, pushing depressants, what that does is it lowers blood pressure, and that can cause people to pass out in the real world. All right. Games like Arma kind of follow that same thing. If I push morphine on this dude and I just gave him epi, he's going to go into cardiac. Same thing that happens in the real world too, right? Because we have 2 medications fighting against each other. So focus on stimulants over depressants, utilize fluid. It's going to get people up quicker. You can do 2 bags as a medic, push them both anti-cubitable, right and left arm, and I promise you that guy will be up in seconds. Sometimes that's what I've done. Sometimes if I can't get if there's a TQ applied on an arm, I'll focus on a leg, whatever. Can't do dick sticks in the game. If we could, that'd be cool. But that being said, focus on fluid, focus on stopping the bleed, and then using stimulants to get people back up. Are we good with that? Any questions? Now is the time to ask, I can assure you. All right. We're going to talk about fire team leading comms and fixing and flanking, right? So this goes hand in hand with what Donkey was talking about earlier in terms of AR and Grenadiers and management, right? So what we're going to kind of focus on, though, is what to do at a fire team level. What I do, and what I recommend you do, is appoint someone to be your battle buddy, right? Without a battle buddy, we get stabbed in dark corners and alleyways. You know what I mean? All right, that being said, so the responsibility of the fire team leader is to direct those orders that are communicated by the squad leader, right? So as your fire team, maybe you're responsible for a flank. Maybe you guys are going to be responsible for the next section and alternating bounding, or whatever it may be. Maybe you're responsible for being the assaulting element. Okay. Managing the internal net. Fire team leader is going to communicate over the net. You guys are going to communicate in local chat, right? We don't want to clog the net with unnecessary information. I'm not asking you to recreate Battle Drill 7 and scream as loud as you can that you're bounding up to a bunker and that you're going to frag it. I'm just saying, if you got your battle buddy, communicate with him as best as you can, right? If you're responsible for bounding left while Bravo's suppressing right, that's what's going to happen. Cover me, battle buddy, I'm moving. You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys have seen the video. That being said, sometimes you guys are both up and bounding at the same time. Okay. Are we good with that? Do we have any questions? I might draw this out for you, actually. So, let's say that we're in a line here. We're reacting to contact. This is not the scale. You should not be this close, but this is, you understand what I'm saying? If we're going to kind of split this down the middle, this is your alpha pair. This is your bravo pair. Okay. Maybe their fire team leader is a part of alpha. We'll just kind of do an F for him here. He should be on the inside, whatever. If they're responsible for suppressing, because maybe he's got the AR with him, and he'll tell the Bravo pair to bound to another location. Something I like to say is we don't like to, it's not ideal to bound into enemy fire. You want to bound either to a location. Sometimes that location might just be towards enemy fire. Does that make sense? Are we good with that? Any questions? All right, cool. Continuing on with this. They're going to bound, they're going to plant and then hold. And then it's going to be your guys' alpha team is going to do the same. Bound, plant, hold. Right, and then repeat that until they get to their designated location. Communicate with your battle buddy in local chat. Communicate with your fire team leader in squad chat. Okay? All right. That being said, when it comes to reporting contact at certain locations, don't communicate that there's contact white side, Bravo, 6, approximately 6 shooters. No one's going to understand what that means. Okay? Communicate things simple, short, concise. Sometimes you can give a bearing. You could be like, bullseye my bearing, enemy contact is 220 at bearing 030. Like whatever's super simple, super clear, right? Eastern tree line is good. This is where we can start talking about employment of the Grenadier as well, by the way. If we're taking contact from that location and a Grenadier is with us, the Grenadier can mark it. Grenadier can also relay that he's marking it with red. Right? This is just super simple communication. Really easy to find those targets, really easy to engage. Find, fix, finish, right? Now, he can also communicate with your element. In terms of flanking, this is kind of important because it goes hand in hand. Flanking is usually terrain dependent. Does the terrain permit a flank? Yes, it does. Hopefully, in terms of your most likely, your most dangerous courses of action, it's been incorporated that you'll kind of be in better positions to engage, where it's permissible to flank. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, so forgive me. All right. When it comes to sit reps, super easy. Sometimes it may be an ace report. You might hear, hey, Alpha, go ahead and give me an ace report. We're asking for ammunition. We're asking for, sorry. All right. Someone unmuted. Do you have a question?
No, that was just me. I was on the phone for a second. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're fine. All right. Call signs Bravo. We're at such and such location. Friendly status is good. Enemy status is black. Maybe they've engaged them all. Our animation count is red, green, or yellow. Okay, super easy. People understand colors a lot better than they understand numbers, right? If I tell you that my ammunition is red, what do you think? And I'm probably running low on ammo, right? All right. Okay. This is where we start talking about fixing and flanking, and I can draw this out a little bit better. Base of fire. We talked about this with the AR employment. Should we take initial contact from a location? Our ARs are going to establish immediate base of fire, right, away from our fire team leader so we can direct it. Even our squad leader, because sometimes the squad leader does act as a fire team leader as well. He just controls the entirety of the squad. Okay, cool. That being said, accurate suppression, like, I encourage you to look up the proper employment for ARs, like traverse and surge, traverse, swing, so on and so forth, right? That way you can kind of understand what kind of fire should be employed when you're engaging, right? Sometimes you want to kind of keep your sector a little smaller. You don't want to be so wide because then we're just engaging all over the place. Ideally, you have 2 ARs in an entire squad, and both can be responsible for engaging in the initial movement, and then we can start talking about like when we're flanking, so on and so forth, right? Now, you heard me mention this earlier about identifying enemy flanks and likely escape routes. That is imperative because we want to fix these people in their position so we can then flank them and finish them and completely wipe them out. That's the biggest thing for Bellum, is that if we can deny enemy reinforcements, we will. Does that make sense? All right. That being said, when Alpha is set in their location, hey, Alpha is set, Bravo, you're good to move. They're going to likely either move forward in a successive or alternating bound, or they're going to move towards a flanking position, right? And then we're gonna keep up that suppression until Bravo calls for a set or assault, and then we're going to lift and shift fire. We're not going to shoot into their assault path or at their direction. We're going to shoot away. Sometimes too, it is good for the AR to focus on trying to keep the enemy movement in one location, i.e., shooting towards their escape route and collapsing that inwards. Does that make sense? I'll draw that up here in just a second. Right. That being said, when alpha's good, as Bravo, it's responsible for you guys to worrying like whatever your fire team leader calls or whatever the squad leader calls. Like, all right, we're cool. We're going on a flank. We're going to use the terrain to permit this flank. Usually, and what I mean by that is, is our movement hidden by the terrain for this flank? Because I'm sure you know, it's kind of hard to flank someone in open ground. It's kind of common sense in reality. That being said, when Bravo does get set to a flanking position, which will be drawn up here, as best as I can. I apologize. I'm not the best at this. So let's say this is our alpha team, and their AR is out here, okay? And they're set at a good position, right? There's some trees over here, and a little bit of ground that can cover the flank. I'm so sorry. They can cover the flank, right? Let's say Bravo is going to move towards these trees. However they bound, when we start talking about buddy pairs, like, maybe they get bound via that way. They'll get set to encroach on their enemy position, maybe from a position of elevation or from defilade, and they will be set to engage. And then now, instead of us shooting, the enemy is kind of fixed here. We're not going to shoot that direction anymore. We're going to start shooting this direction and kind of collapse that inwards. Is that making a little bit more sense? So we can kind of meet here, right? Because we want to keep them in place while Bravo begins to flank and finish, right? And then we'll start shifting that, and then we'll eventually lift it. And there will be calls made by that fire team leader, Alpha, lift fire, and that means to stop engaging, right? Shift means to move your fire. Okay, cool. All right. In terms of breaking contact, so if the enemy manages to break contact before you're able to properly fix and finish them, you don't want to chase. And the main reason you don't want to chase is because you could be led into an ambush, right? So consolidate what you have and report it to the squad lead. Hey, Alpha, this is Bravo. Effective 2 enemy KIA, weapons cache, blah, 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 whatever it is, seized, 1 weapon emplacement destroyed, so on and so forth, right? Communicate whatever you've managed to accomplish. Super simple, super short, to the squad lead. Do we have any questions on that? No, Donkey, do you want to add anything?
So when you start closing with on your flank or your frontal assault, when you start getting within that hand grenade range, make sure that you guys are putting down some very considerable suppression before you start prepping that frag, and don't prep the frag until people are shooting for you, and then huck it once you've made that confirmation. But as far as terrain is going to dictate your flank versus frontal assault. General rule of thumb, you will 45 degrees away from your element to the rear. So if Alpha is facing north, you will 45 degrees either southwest or southeast, just using general compass terms so everyone can understand, to either a terrain feature away or at least 300 meters away before you start making that flank. Now, terrain feature, there's a lot of good terrain features in Bellum specifically that you can use to mask your movement. So, and then you'll start your action right or your action left, working that working your flank, right? So then you can start your bound across, really getting narrowed in. Go ahead, not narrowed in too bad, but enough to where you can start, truly finding out where they are, so the alpha team can, pick up that suppression. You guys can move across that that engagement area. Alpha team comes up. You guys should be set. So hard to talk about, easier to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That being said, part of our Tuesday block, obviously we're kind of finishing the class part. We're going to do hands-on. Things to remember. Number 1, AR base of fire. Anchor the team by put up. Manage your belt suppress before anything moves. Biggest thing is becoming the biggest gun in the gunfight, right? More rounds wins, not necessarily accuracy. My shot placement, I can hit T-box, A-zone, like all day, but that doesn't matter when the dude's like 400 meters away, and I'm not hitting T-box anymore because I can't see the guy. You know what I mean? Grenadier, arc fire for dead ground. Coordinate with AR, announce grade out before launching. Biggest thing, again, like I said, utilize those tools. a lot of this is solution, bro. Like, just like, what can I do in the moment to like work with what we're sorry, I'm trying to formulate words here. I apologize. What can I do in the moment
Words
to
are
solve
hard.
this problem? Words are very hard for me right now. I apologize once again. So, what can I do to solve this problem that's at hand? What's our problem, right? Well, we're being engaged from a location. I don't know the distance. I'm going to launch this 150 out. It comes up. That smoke round lands 20 meters behind it. Okay, that's pretty accurate. Cool. They're about 150 out. If it lands in Timbuktu, cool. I need to draw that a little in, right? Advanced medical. Suppress first. Care under fire. Care under fire matters so much more than you think. Win the gunfight. Starve off the gunfight. Then worry about treating people. Sometimes just a simple TQ to stop at least one bleed is good enough, right? Treat second. T-Triple-C priority. Save more lives than speed. Absolutely. Managing comms. Manage two buddy pairs. Report upward concisely. Deconflict fires with adjacent fire teams. It is imperative that you do so you're not shooting towards friendlies and wasting rounds. Right, because obviously Bellum damage is reflected. You also don't want to kill your AR because you didn't communicate that you're beginning your flank. Sometimes it is hard to determine whether it's friendly or not when they're 200 meters away and everything's a shadow, right? Other than, being aware of your Blue Force tracker, of course. Fix and flank. Alpha fixes, Bravo flanks. Never both moving simultaneously. I will add something to that. Sometimes you're more weapons capable with your Bravo squad, specifically for the regiment. As a good squad leader, especially for the army, will probably use their alpha as a flanking element because it mostly consists of riflemen. And it does have a medic in it, unfortunate. You get to be big balls today. But your Bravo has a lot more weapons capability than your alpha team does. Right? That being said, we're going to kind of shift over towards the classes. But before we do, I'm going to ask again, does anybody have any questions? Who the fuck just added me on Steam? I know y'all see that. Lord have mercy. Anyways. All right. Let's go ahead and shift over to Bellum, yeah? Do some hands-on
Yeah,
stuff. I'm a bit better with hands-on to begin with anyway.
I'll be in 1-2.
1-2, got it.
Be the was it NA Central worked pretty well yesterday, right, guys?
Yep.
All right, 375, 1-2. We're gonna head to the west.
What? Guys.
Bullseye my bang is crazy for ground troops. Yeah, I know.
That's training server number 2.
Yep. Training server 2. Also, kind of the same thing that happened yesterday. For those of you who are not able to do the prac portion, but you came here for the block module, I'll go ahead and stream what our squad's doing, so you guys can at least watch if you want to. And then, if not, if you guys are in Discord and you don't want to hear me blab, go ahead, mute and deafen.
Hello. Yep.
1-2, head to Romeo 06. Romeo 06 if you're in squad 1-2.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm gonna follow 1-2. Sounds like a plan. Yeah, absolutely. Here, let me mute Discord. It'll mostly be the same things we kind of talked about in order. We're going to talk about like AR use and like Grenadier stuff. We'll cover some flanking as well, but it's going to be the same thing as followed what we did on the slides. Did you learn anything from the slides? Was I clear and communicative? Oh, I got you. All right.
All right. Everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Sick. Who did I have? Do I have any of you guys over here yesterday as well? Right on. Okay. So first we'll work on SAW employment. All right. So can I get one rifleman to come with me real quick? Follow me. SAW, stay here.
Yep.
All right. You ever played the game Duck Hunter? You know, the little duck that walks back and forth, and you have to shoot it with a shotgun or like the BB gun?
Getting cloudy. Could rain.
No, it's not.
I'd like you to walk from this truck
Yeah, it is.
to that building
Look east.
and back at a slow pace.
Oh shit.
All right, SAW gunners. Go ahead and push up, get a little bit closer to that high side to where you can see him. Right here. Now, we're going to go into one quick rates of fire. We're using our super awesome walking target down there. Don't go down range. Where are you going? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they're dead.
Sick. Okay. Yeah,
That's crazy.
God damn it. All right. Well, close out and try again. I don't know. Let me see if I can get it to restart.
We can try trading server 1.
Yeah. I just know TA2 worked yesterday, so. Or not TA. It's not a training area. It's a training server. TS2. Oh, and it's Cambori. That's actually pretty dope. I'll be 1-2 again for anyone who's listening. Yep. Hey, anybody in Discord, if you guys can hear me, we're going to training server 1. Training server 2 looks like it died.
Are you guys taking like a long ass time to join?
A
Yes.
little bit.
Yep.
I think the whole game might be down.
Is it-
Honestly,
Yeah, I think so.
I might just stream some footage from Operator on how to employ weapons.
Yeah, something is better than nothing.
Yep.
My fucking Bellum is just bugged now.
Yep, my shit's frozen. Sick. All right, I'm gonna close that out, and
It could be maybe that they are doing the technical test. Yep. I think because we joined like out of nowhere, like how many 18 people out of nowhere fucking just overloaded the server. It just fucking shat itself.
It is. It's not. No, it's
The
not.
same-
We're on
the same server.
507. They're on 509. They're on experimental. We're on main branch.
yeah. All right. Well, that's annoying.
Thank you.
That was a good push, whoever that was.
Yeah, Bellum is not loading for me. I'm just gonna reload the game.
I tried that. It didn't even
Should we
it's
just
let that
ready.
happen.
Is
so-
this?
It is,
It's just fully
it's
fucked.
dead.
Are you gonna stream something else, or are we gonna call it a day then?
I am gonna stream something else for those who want. Obviously, it's not going to give you the prac app, but it'll give you a hands-on idea.
Yep.
So, something like you said, something's better than nothing.
Something I want to share with you guys as well is like, no matter what space you're in, whether you're internal, external, open field, CQB, whatever, like you should always be looking to be proactive.
Yes.
Never
Find
find
a hole,
yourself
fill
in
a hole.
lull. Exactly. Never find yourself in a lull where you're like, "Fuck, I don't know what to do." It's like half the shit is common sense. It's like, what could I be doing? What's my job as an AR? Shoot people, shoot towards people, deny enemy movement. GG. You know what I mean? Can't really go over the prac app for medical today, but if you guys have questions, reach out to me. You guys do know this stuff, right? Like I'm sure you guys have gone on YouTube, watched police activity once or twice in your life, and you see after someone is shot, the first thing you do is render aid, stop the bleed, right? We're gonna stop the bleed, and we're gonna focus on pushing fluid. Super simple, but you need to do it, and you need to make sure it's a good time to do it. The best time is when you can identify a lull, right? Which is a short pause in crazy action or whatever it may be that you determine it as, and when you find that lull, start worrying about rendering aid. If everybody's combat capable and you only took one casualty on first contact, cool. You got enough people to return the fire, move that guy out of there, pop smokes if you need, if he's in an ODA or whatever, and get him to a position where you can work with him. Right? Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Operations. Let's go. Oh, you know what? This one. We're gonna go find a IED maker. How about that? Daytime. We want lots of bad guys. Otherwise it's gonna get really boring. All right.
You could also use the shooting range downstairs.
Good. Didn't think about using the shooting range outside.
I think. I
I like
both
shooting rope. I
weapons
like
are-
shooting stuff. So
Better when it's
experimental
breathing.
is down too.
yeah, better when it's real.
Both versions of the game are down, I think. It's just kicked in with the network failure.
It's unfortunate. Sorry, guys.
They may be updating the servers for the next patch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I go the wrong fucking way? I sure did. All right. Try and run. So seeing this, we'll also kind of talk respects to the gun, ground, and target, which is going to be your machine gun theory and how to use and employ. So your different methods of processing targets, traversing, searching, search and traverse, swinging, traverse, search, traverse, search and
Yeah.
traverse, swinging,
Swing and
traverse,
all that. Yeah.
and then free fire. But which is how almost all of us will be shooting as free fire due to the fact that there is no tripod. Yeah, I don't have door kickers too. I'll have to look into it.
I do.
Yeah, I don't. I like this one because it makes me have to do this. Hi-ya!
I love that game.
So
Do what?
it popped up in the top left corner. So, all right. So I'm going to talk about machine gun employment. All right. So someone pick a rate of fire. What do we want to see?
Sustained.
Sustained. All right. Sustained is going to be a 6 to 9 round burst. For anyone who was with me yesterday, that's going to sound like this. Die, motherfucker, die. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, there's your sustained rate of fire. It's a 6 to 9 round burst, or say die, motherfucker, die, with a 4 to 5 second pause in between. All right, this has the same round count. The ammo allotment has the same round count that you'd see in Bellum right now. It's the 100 round nut sacks. Rapid. It's going to be the exact same trigger pull, just with a 3 second pause. So now we're going to go into a rapid. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then cyclic. Just letting it go. No pause, no break, no nothing. Just sending it free. The cyclic rate for M249 is about 850 rounds a minute if you had a continuous belt linked up. It's going to be about the same for the 240. And it just goes like this. There's 100 rounds. Goes pretty quick. All right, now we're going to go into our grenade launcher employment. All right. So this doesn't have the ranging like Bellum does. So I can't hit X and scroll wheel like Squatter and Bellum. So we have to be able to understand, kind of target reference by size at distance. So this is about a 200 meter distance between here to that house, maybe 250. But all my rounds couldn't do anything to anybody in that short building. Let me zoom in so you guys can see. This building right here, in the center of the screen. I know my iBox is terrible, right? But if I wanted to shoot somebody in that alleyway, what I would do is apply holds. All right, so they're still short. Oh, look, there's a guy walking up. Maybe we can get him. Zoom in so we'll double it. Double the distance. All right, doubling it was just a little too much. Got the top of the roof. Now we'll cut it back down. There we go. So now I know my range. All right, I'm right about there. Get that guy on the beach next to the truck. Haha!
Good.
Direct impact.
Sure.
All right. So now we got the guy on the truck because it's a hardened vehicle. Oh, just a little over. We'll bring it down just a smidge. Dancing all around that truck. So let's take out the guy on the truck first because I'm not wanting to get ripped up by a Dishka right now. So then you guys just get to laugh at me while I get sent back to the loading screen. You know what? Always load your guns. Ah!
Do it quick.
I think it's 8.
Nah. He sucks. This is almost the exact same reloading sequence that you'll see in Bellum as well, except you don't make you put it on the ground in this game.
A good
All
thing to note, ladies and gentlemen, is this is what it looks like to be under fire by somebody.
This is what it's like to be suppressed.
Yeah.
And this is how you counter suppression.
With more suppression.
All right. So now we've been suppressed and we have suppressed. We've used a 40 mic launcher.
Now, if you're paying attention as well, gentlemen, you'll see that the AI are currently trying to fix him in position and flank him from the bridge, which is an LDA, right? So, unfortunately, though, because he was able to spot... So, naturally, just so you guys know, and you kind of learn this in stalking, is side-to-side movement is extremely easy to see.
Yes.
It's
never parallel the objective.
Exactly. It's extremely easy for someone to identify side-to-side movement because it's actually something that you're born with, right? That's why as humans we have eyes that are facing forward because we're natural hunters. So we're trained to see side-to-side movement because prey typically runs. Now, that being said, if you paid attention there, he was getting suppressed from the left while they were flanking from his right. Right? That's not necessarily textbook because the terrain didn't permit that, and look what happens. They're getting cut down in an ODA. Sucks to suck, get better, GG, no RB. Right?
By the way, another thing that I've just noticed from the AI themselves is they use the same basically sustained, cyclic, and rapid rates to keep someone in place. And the thing is, let's say in Bellum, when you get like a sustained fire, so you notice they're doing sustained fire, just try to like not dump all your rounds into them, because if they are like how's it called, reserving ammo, then they might try to flank you. Or that's how I see it.
So if you're in a gunfight with somebody, you need to maximize firepower. That doesn't mean spend every round off rip. That just means you need to make sure that you're getting good effective hits. You need to make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to, right? So putting rounds where they're supposed to go. But if you're getting hit with sustained fire to win that gunfight, you need to go to rapid. It's that simple, right? You need to have a higher rate of fire than what the enemy has. Put a scope on so you guys can actually see like where the rounds are going this time. And then
because exactly,
you're empty.
Fire superiority. And that's the biggest thing is like this. That's why like Rangers we get like 240s, right? It's a big ass fucking bullet, and it's belt fed. We can keep that rate of fire going, which is why like there is machine gun tactics as well, like talking guns, for example.
Yes.
To try to
Talking
preserve
guns,
ammo, but also to try to keep right, but to try to keep up that rate of fire where we need to keep these guys suppressed and we need to fix them in place. The hardest thing, that the one gunfight you don't want to get to, especially like think about it from an FMP standpoint, right? We're Rangers, we're going into an AO, and we're trying to take an objective. We're not there to sustain a 3-day firefight. Like that's not our goal. We want to kind of finish this as quick as possible. So we don't want to sling lead from 300 meters. One, it's not really effective, and two, these guys can simply just run away.
Standoff is important,
right?
Within reason,
right. So if we can get close enough to these guys, maybe we use, like, as you start talking about contouring lines and using the elevation for movement, so on and so forth, right? Like if we can get close enough to these guys without compromising troop movement, which is why it's important not to negligent discharge in Bellum, because if you do, you can compromise the entirety of the movement. Your entire battle group can be identified and killed, right? If we can get close enough to these guys with weapon superiority, we can win this engagement before it ever has to go prolonged, right? Which is good. A good day for me is this firefight lasts 10 minutes. That's a good day for me, right?
At what distance would you normally say you would decide, as an SL, when would you normally decide that you would engage a enemy contact regardless of position? Like what distance would that be in Bellum before, or rather without contacting 1/6 or command first?
What's
kind
your
of-
element size? If you're a fire team and you see a squad, you're not going to fight a squad. If
No,
you're a
as
squad
an
and you see
SL,
right,
like
so
as a
like
squad leader.
as a squad leader, if I see another squad, I'm bringing it up to 1/6. If I am a squad leader and I see a fire team, I win that fight. I'm not even gonna bring that up. That's my fight. I own that all day long. I'm gonna fight that fight until I start realizing, hey, maybe it wasn't just a fire team, but if I can guarantee it's just a fire team, I own that fight. It's mine. Go away. Don't touch my cookie.
Yeah, so basically, unless you're absolutely sure it's a fire team, you wouldn't engage before talking to command. But I was more about like the distance. When would you, like, let's say they're on you, right? You would probably report it as soon as you're in contact, but would you like, what distance would you say you would contact first before going in engaging?
So it's dependent on a few things, right? Like first of all, I'm a big proponent of like what is my objective, right? Like does it me starting and initiating this firefight, does it go align with my objective? Which my objective might be exploitation, so I need to kill people, do SSC, so on and so forth, right? Hit my LOAs, search bodies, cool. Me personally, I like to put myself in good advantageous positions if I was a squad leader before I engage, which is where I once again find myself repeating here: most dangerous course of action versus most likely. I like to think about, if I was op 4, what would I be doing and how can I counteract that? And this is where I'm going to lead into your question. If I can effectively move my troops closer to my objective and get myself within 200 meters, and we can set up maybe like good firing positions, any sort of advantageous good movement position, so on, from concealment, right? Of course, and they're within 200 meters, and I can get them inside a kill zone that I can predetermine. I will likely engage them once they hit that kill zone. The biggest thing is you don't want to shoot at one person and 6 people are behind him; they're just at a distance, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, first of all, who am I engaging and what distance am I engaging them at? I don't mind shooting people at 200 within 200 meters. I really don't. The idea is that, can I kill these guys? If they're in an ODA at 200 meters, we're engaging. I don't care.
Yeah, so basically, if they're like generally, if they're in an advantageous position, or rather you're in an advantageous position to them, as long as they're within about like 200 meters, or they will be soon, you would just engage and then update from that.
Exactly. Unless I have no other choice. For example, it was way back when, before the game went into beta, and I was platoon medic with Jedi, and I was like, "Hey Jedi, do trees typically stand up when they're on a ridgeline?" No, they don't, right? So those are people, and they were looking at us. So we engaged those guys, and they were well within 300 meters. They were I'm about to say 250, 300, and so we had to engage them because we were in an ODA. And we were at the disadvantage. So it's like, now we got to engage these guys, suppress them, so we can move to a better position. Now we can fight these guys at a closer distance, right? And then we won. We pushed up with overwhelming sectors of fire, overlapping sectors of fire. We were able to push up, get close, engage, fix, and finish. Right? Very rapid, very close, very quick. And it was a fire team. They weren't. Granted, our entire troop movement was compromised, and they relayed our position, which is important, by the way. If you're in a fire team and you do see people moving, I do strongly recommend before you start shooting, you communicate that. I had an incident where we had a random, but a part of our squad. We were in another server. We weren't even close to TWS guys, but there was a random in our squad who had a GL, and the first thing he did, we caught these guys in a kill zone, just so you're aware. But we didn't have the bulk of their forces in the kill zone. But our random thought it was a grand idea to launch his 25 millimeter VOG grenade at 2 people. Now let me ask you a question. If I'm a poor, malnourished African child who's high off pot half of my life, and I decide that I'm going to shoot at 2 rangers to begin with, and there's only 2 of them, does that sound like a grand idea? No, right? I know it's not a good idea. So what do you think happened? The rangers who we couldn't see, who were in a tree line about 50 meters beyond those 2 guys, who happened to be their spotting element, I guess you could say, decided to suppress our entire location. We got fixed and finished right there. Right? So that's compromising troop movement. We don't want to do that. I would much rather, I should be fair with you, I would much rather, as 4 guys, kill 12 guys in a kill zone than 2 guys.
2.
And lose my entire squad. Either way, if I lose my squad, I'm good with that. Aside from losing, to 2 guys. I would much rather kill 12 dudes and lose 4 people than kill 2 people and lose everybody. Right? What's acceptable losses? What's an acceptable casualty rate? That's not a good one. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Standoff, engagement distance, 200, 150, 100. 50 is, oh shit, we're really close, right? Anyways, I'll let him continue.
I'm going to go into, so this is plunging fire. Plunging fire is any time that you are not utilizing evenly sloping terrain, i.e. generally flat ground, right? That is grazing fire. Grazing fire is when fired when you are on generally sloping terrain. Plunging fire is any time that I am up high shooting low or down low shooting up high, okay? So now, my movement took me all the way up. Yes, I'm aware I'm on the reverse side, the front side of the military crest. It's a, terrible video game that doesn't have the great mechanics that allows me to stay on the backside and use a bipod to shoot. So ignore the fact that I'm doing it that way. But we will talk about how to array targets or, process targets with a automatic rifle. I brought the scope so you guys could actually see the AI instead of even tinier pixels on my screen. So now we're just going to find priorities of targets. Well, they're in the open. They can maneuver on me. Going to keep panning. Oh, look, that's a gun truck. I should probably start there. But I already blew it up, so I'm not really too worried about it. So if I was going to start, I'm going to take out the bigger threat than me, and so on and so forth, right? So we'll start here. Plunging fire. When I charge my weapon. All right, there's plunging fire. It's also closer to a rapid rate. Now let's work defilade. So I can't see what's directly behind those tents. And well, actually there's people over here. So we're going to work our defilade. All right, we're going to play the same range game that we did on the last map. So I don't use a 40 mic here. I usually run a sniper rifle on this. So let's go here. I'm getting good effects inside of that hard tent structure area, using my indirect fires to get stuff that I can't see with direct fire weapons. All right, that one was a little short. Boom. There we go. All right.
What's the approximate? Do you guys know the approximate fall of the 40 mics in Bellum?
The what?
So the height loss, the fall curve.
The feet per second.
400 meter.
or the max distance.
No, no, just like the fall rate. So basically, like how many meters per like how many meters per like 100 meters does it fall? Like let's say you shoot at straight ahead, like what's the rate of
Like at
down
what point
towards?
does it start to drop? Like at what point
Yeah,
does
so
it
like the
start?
bell curve basically.
I mean, so the thing with the GL, right, is that it's not a precise weapon, right? It's not meant to be a precise weapon either. It's meant to be an area
No.
of effect. So if I can
Yeah,
hit,
no. Sorry, I think it maybe it's just that it basically. I'm just wondering if you guys know like how many meters does it fall? Let's say you aim at a target that's 100 meters away. Like, do you
Yeah.
know approximately like how much higher you need to aim to hit that? Like, how many meters does it fall during those 100 meters? So you can't
So
like shoot straight ahead.
instead of lying and saying, yeah, it's this, I can give you the rough feet per second that round is going, and you can go through and do some really cool math solutions and figure out the calculated drop based off of, I'm going to give you the middle range of what the average feet per second is for a 40 mic round, probably being an HEDP, and it's going to be right around 300 feet per second.
yeah.
Sorry,
So
she's
100?
about 300 feet per
300.
second.
Yeah.
Yep.
So about 100 meters per second, more or less.
Okay. Yep. So you could go, so without, saying, oh yeah, no, it's definitely this, like your less than lethal rounds are 300 feet per second. Your, the low velocity, says low velocity combat is about 250 feet per second. And the medium velocity is 320 to 400. So anywhere between 100 to 120 meters. So if you stick at 100 meters per second, you're going to be close enough. And if you wanted to do your own, make your own dope chart for it,
yep,
that's on you.
That'd be pretty
I'll
sick
check
if
it
you
out.
did, but
that would be sick.
If you did.
And
But,
if you do, tag me in it.
Yeah,
I'll see if I get a time.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see those numbers because unfortunately the reality of it is like you're going to be under fire, and believe me, brother, the last thing I'm going to be doing in the middle of a firefight is the Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah, that's
You know what
fair.
I mean?
A squared
It's
plus
more
B
about
squared.
like if you get a general idea about what the fall rate is, you could.
Yeah.
It's much easier to kind of like get a head kind of calculation of like how high do I need to aim for that approximate target for at least like 100 or 200 meters
Right.
away.
Well, that's
So,
why I mentioned like
what I
utilizing
said, yep.
spotting rounds or utilizing like reference, like identify a landmark or reference point before you utilize the GL, and then try to figure out what the ranging of that is. If it's big to your eyeballs, it's a lot closer than you think. If it's
Fair enough.
if it's kind of big, it's probably roughly around 200 meters. You see what I'm saying? If it's way
Yeah.
the fuck out there and I have little confidence in my ability to hit it, it's probably 300 meters. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not lobbing GLs at 300 meters unless I'm on a Mark 19. I'm not.
Oh yeah, there we go. Gauzy got a whole lot fun times there.
So yeah, the thing I would say is just find go to the training server at some point and go to the training server on your own time when it's not, crashing on us, right? And have a homie go with you, have him walk out and try and hit him at 100 meters.
Yeah.
Do it at 200 and then change your scenery. So that way you have a reference of what your distance is based off of what one person looks like standing, kneeling, in open terrain, in vegetated terrain, and in and around buildings. If you can start understanding how big the windows are at that distance, then you're going to be, you're just going to start subconsciously adding these things going, yeah, that looks like it's 200. And then you can X scroll wheel 200, click point adventure, and start making them have a terrible day. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And when I say this too, like I don't mean to toot my own horn, but for some reason in Bellum, I have the craziest built-in rangefinder in my eyeballs. I've been on AT so many times. They're like, that's about 250, and I'll rip it, wham, destroyed. Like
I don't know what it is with Bellum, but I have the exact opposite problem. I just like there's something about my brain just going like that's somewhere between 50 and 200 meters.
So range estimation is honestly one of the hardest things we can do, real world or video game wise. Video game wise, obviously even harder, especially when there's no maps, no ways to cheat the system. But
I don't know,
everything
real life, I have easier time, honestly, much easier.
Real life though, like the nature of the terrain, your lighting is gonna play effect, and it's gonna take an effect into the game too. So like if they're in the shadows, they might look, you know, a little closer, but they might actually still be further, especially if they're in open terrain. If they're in a bright lit area and they have, you know, some, like they're on the downslope of that giant cliff, and oh shit, you know, it's going to start looking a little different, right? If he's on the very top of that cliff and he's starting starting on his way down, again, it's all going to change your perspective of how things, your depth, your perception of depth or range is going to change based off lighting, the target size, the actual target size, and the just the way that the nature of the terrain lies. All right. So the best way I can say to get range estimation in this game is when you get 20 minutes and, you know, before you start your game that day, you know, so Thursday when the servers open back up, you know, before you go log into the match with the homies, hey, let's go to a training server. Let's go figure out our ranges real quick, you know, and just, hey, rifleman, go run that way until I tell you to stop. Cool.
Yeah.
Do the same thing, right? And just figure it out, especially if you guys are starting to play in like consistent rules. And then the GM94, it might have a different ranging or sighting system. So, you know,
I'm pretty sure all of them has a bit of
I think they're similar, but so just something to think about.
Yeah. If
sounds
you
good.
guys want like a reference for when you're in the training server using a GL, you spawn as a ranger and you walk 10 meters to the left of the rearming bags. If you look at the cluster of buildings out, not on the ridgeline, but on the flat terrain, it's 350 if you're looking at those houses, and it's 350 for the ridgeline. And then where it has that green fence with like the little tent areas, that's 200.
Which map was that?
For Highlands.
Highlands.
Oh, damn! Somebody just dropped a cheat sheet with a MGRS overlay. There we go.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And it also has a tool
saving
for
that,
drawing a line and getting the actual distance.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
love
top
it.
right or hit X.
Yeah, there you
Or
go.
middle, rather.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Some things to consider too. I'm kind of retarded, so like it's far enough out there, and I don't have I have little confidence in my ability to hit it. I'm just gonna assume it's 300. I'm gonna be like, that's my whole mindset. Is like, is that shit hard as hell to hit? Hell yeah, 300. Easy.
Well, I guess that's why they call you Crane Eater, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, that's for the Marine Corps. They're losers.
Weren't you
anyway,
Marine?
No, not me.
That was me.
Oh,
Good
right.
old Army.
Sorry.
Good old Army. Anyways, so yeah, the main thing to focus on too, by the way, especially when utilizing explosives, most gunfights are won with explosives. Like truth be told, like if we can just blow them up, we're going to. So that being said, let's focus back on the GLs for just a quick second. Identify what is backsplash to them. Splash, not blast, splash. If they're near a structure, I'm hitting the fucking wall. I don't give a shit about being like on top of their forehead. I don't give a damn. If they're nearest to it, I'm gonna hit that. If they're near trees, I'm hitting the fucking tree. Especially if I'm on flat terrain and they're in defilade, right?
Yep.
Because my arc is gonna just fly past them every single time. I'm gonna hit a tree. What's the nearest tree and what's the range of that tree? Granted, hear me out though. Trees are vertical, right? So if I find out what a decent accurate range to that tree is, and I hit like midsection of the tree, where do you think that explosive is going? All around it, right? Like I'm hitting everybody at that point. You see what I'm kind of saying here? So it's like don't focus too much on being precise. Dude, if you get a GL through a window, you need to go play the lottery. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like at 200 meters, go play the lottery. Why are you playing Bellum? You know what I mean?
I'll go get the lottery ticket now.
Yeah, like go start gambling, go do something, because I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm never going to claim to be able to do that, and if I do it, fuck yeah, more for me.
The grenades are also effective through walls, right? In my understanding,
I think they are HE. They are HE I'm pretty sure, so they should be.
They are effective on some of the compounds. They're not effective on all of them. So
I would guess the aluminium siding and the mud huts.
Yeah. That's another good question to ask yourself. Is my structure made out of shit and water? Yes, it is. I could probably shoot through it, right? I could probably blow it up too. So it's kind of the
we actually tested that a few trainings ago. We found that basically any gun can shoot through the mud huts, but the normal riflemen, so like the normal, you know, the AKs and those, they only shoot through occasionally, so like every third shot approximately.
Yeah. Man, you guys are crazy with the testing. I'm too retarded for that. I'm sorry.
It's worth if they're peeking the windows, it's worth just slamming the wall and hey, maybe it works.
100%. Well, and then think about it, right? Let's use for those of you who don't know, the common round that you get that AZ and them get is a heat round. It's literally the most common round that they're using, right? That is specifically meant to penetrate through walls.
It's like they have frag rounds too. I'm pretty sure
they do. But I'm saying like they get like I think they get like 4 or 5 heat rounds.
Do they
so,
really? God,
damn. So no structure is safe from AZ or Seder. Which is why I was saying before, I've promised you, I've watched 6 dudes for some reason huddle in the worst building they could find, and all of them get wiped out to 1 RPG because it just penetrates through the wall and explodes interior. Which is
exactly.
the exact function of a heat round.
No more than 2 people per building, please.
No more than 1.5.
You're just asking to get wiped.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, why that lone yellow house on the hill that we see them all over the place. Yeah, you do not want to be in there with 5 of your closest friends, because you're just a big old target.
Exactly.
And you're the easiest house to call out.
The biggest with Bellum being down today, though, I highly recommend taking some time. Go figure out your weapons. Like we've seen sustain, we've seen rapid, we've seen cyclic, we've seen the use of depilate or the use of how to employ 40 mic in defilade. Sorry, it wasn't in Bellum to use their system, but hey, it's something.
Right.
So I think we're gonna go into Carl G's and 240s later next week.
Should be later next week. I heard someone say that they had a question. I heard like a small pipe up. Who has a question? I swear I heard it.
Yeah, you did. It was me. See, for the Seder Russian or the Senior Grenadier, what is their shell? Because I heard it's front facing, but
the shell.
Like
He's talking about I think the KS-13. It's the
the GM94 grenade launcher.
Yeah, the Senior Grenadier one.
So it's still a I want to say it's still a 40 millimeter VOG style grenade.
Yeah.
It's just a pump action shotgun, basically.
It's not a cylinder of fragmentation. It's face forwarding.
It sort of is. You can actually see it in the
a shotgun
developer stream, because they show the ballistic pass, and they also show the grenade explosions. And for Seder, it's like you get the normal circle, but there's a little bit of an extension off the front of the circle as well. So I'll see if I can find a link to that real quick.
So one GL I can't seem to grab because, for example, in the town, in the very small alley between the red building and blue building, where they come towards the water tower direction, guy was standing completely oblivious as AZ, and I pumped 4 rounds into this dude with the GL shell from across the town, dead accurate. And he's like, "Huh? Those were for me?" He walked to the side and let me reload another 4 shells, and then he put his back against the green tin fence, and I go, "Fuck it, I'll just put him above his head and around him." He did not drop once.
Interesting.
That's crazy because I've gotten some wicked kills with that thing.
Oh, the guy in the second story building that was on the left, I put one in his mouth and he went to sleep, but this guy just refused to lay down on the floor, and then he killed like 3 of my squad members.
Wicked.
Yeah, that just might be a game as a man.
Yeah.
But
in terms of that's unfortunate. In terms of everything else, though, do we have any questions related to medical? Do we have any questions? Generally, do we have any questions at all that I'm immediately here to answer? If you want to get crazy with it on 14 gauge woman needle decompressions, by all means, send me the question. I can answer it all day. But just what do you guys want to cover right now that's in the moment? Because apparently, from what I am hearing is that medical is kind of struggling in Bellum. So I want to make sure that everybody's clear.
I think people are confused in what way to do medical, especially as the medic. People are applying blood bags before QTs and other shit, and people just don't understand the process of If it's QT first, bandage, then blood, or blood, QT, bandage, and people just get it mixed.
Yeah. Well, the hard part is like, it depends on it depends on how many rescuers you have. If I have another rescuer and let's say he's a rifleman and I can afford to have him around, I'll have him just work on bleeding and I'm gonna push fluid. Simple, right? And now if I need help, I'm already like in the process of stopping the bleed. I'll call him over and be like, "Hey, help me stop the bleed with this guy." And once you're done, you're good to go. The biggest thing is, especially as a medic, is to manage your patient and manage everybody around you who's immediately able to assist you, right? Like as a medic, you have a lot to say. Truth be told, you really do, and I don't think people are like necessarily either confident and speak. I've told people, "I don't need your help. You're good to go. Like just get back in the fight," and I say that immediately. So like, and I call it's patient management is all it really is. So if I come across a dude, I could draw this out. Do you want me to draw it out for you guys so you can guys kind of see this a little bit?
Yeah, do that.
Go for it.
It's gonna be like the worst possible stickman you're ever gonna see. I can assure you. But we'll make.
While he's making the drawing, I'm gonna take my quick shot. One for any final questions for me. I finally got the A-OK to go get some final signatures so I can finish my journey in the military. So I'm gonna go try and steal those. So do I have any last questions?
No, you're good, I think.
Anything on weapons employment, flanking, anything like that? The coordination's the hardest part, and that's just squad leaders and team leaders. Like, it's a video game. Swallow your pride, shut up, and just do what you're told. And if it doesn't work, you can make fun of them later. But like, you know what I mean? Like, hey man, maybe next time we try this. You know, like, don't be a dick. Just make sure that you guys are communicating. Like, hey, it looks like they're breaking off. They're running away. They're not sticking around to fight. Hey, they're bringing more in. Hey, this is turning, you know, into a squad on squad size fight. Those are some of the updates that you guys need to be pushing. Don't need to, you know, if you guys, you know, drop a couple of dudes like, hey, you know, I put one down. He's next to the, you know, and you know, try and be as descriptive as possible so you can narrow that battlefield down, but also to an extent to where you're not clogging up the comms. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's going to be subjective for everyone, right? Everyone's going to have to kind of find that less is more kind of communication. So
yeah, because you also don't want to turn it into word salad where you've said like 60 billion things to me as a leader, and I'm still like, what the fuck did you say? Especially if I'm getting shot at too. You know what I mean? That's the big thing. All right, I've got my world's shittiest stick figure drawn up.
Yeah.
If you guys have questions for me, shoot me a DM, Mr. China. Thanks for letting me step in.
Yes, sir.
If you have anything for me, please also shoot me a message. That was my so. All right,
you were getting out now. Or you were signing out now.
Yeah.
Cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Share if you want to send me some feedback, Donkey. Make sure I was clear and
please.
All right, but
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Dude. So I'm gonna make this I'm not gonna make this quick. I'm gonna however long you guys need. But the last thing of today is we're just gonna talk about stick figures and trauma, right? Because that's the number one cause of death, I guess you could say. And Bellum is trauma, obviously, right? Nobody's having heart attacks. No one's low on potassium and having chest pain, blah blah blah, right? So that being said, this is Joe. It's the best name I could come up for him in the moment. Joe decides that he's going to take a GSW to the chest, and he's going to take one to the arm. Right? Now, that being said, this is relatively low. This is considered multi-system trauma. He's injured in 2 different places. Okay? And one could be a pneumo. Medical is going to get more complicated in Bellum, so it's better we get the wrangle on at least stopping the bleed now, right? As a medic, and I come across 2 red injuries, okay? For some reason, RPD decided that he was going to fuck him up today. I come across Joe here. Joe's down, and I look at him. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play a TQ high and tight, right? And we're going to stop that bleed immediately. I'm going to start bandaging the chest so we can take care of this immediately as well. Okay? So that being said, now we're in a position where Joe is uncon. We don't know what stage of consciousness. He's not talking to me. Okay? So we know he's at least stage 2 unconsciousness. Right? Now I'm going to worry about pushing fluid. I've already managed both his bleeds. Well, sorry, I apologize. I applied the TQ, but the bleeding, the wound is still there. But I was bandaging the chest in the meantime. While that was taking place, I was pushing fluid in the other arm so we can get a bag of saline going, or fluid, synthetic, whatever. And then while that's taking place, while that's going in, I'm then going to worry about the wound management. Right? At this point, it's wound management. It's no longer trauma. Right? Or it's a stage of trauma. I'm going to worry about that wound. I'm going to get that taken care of. By the time that bag is going in, and by the time I finish that wound on the left, he's combat capable. I don't need to use any sort of stimulant unless he's still unconscious, because he's been unconscious for a while. And if he's still unconscious, like after fixing the wound and like the bag going in, I'm then going to push another bag, because I don't know how much fluid he's lost. All I saw was that there was 2 red GSW indicators, and he probably took a pretty heavy trauma. You know what I mean? GSW's the chest, no bueno. Right? That being said, we're going to make this a little bit more complicated. Joe here decides that he's going to peek up over a berm and take one of the forehead. But because his weapon is presented out, he also takes 2 more to the arm. Both arms. And we'll do another GSW to the chest. This is pretty bad. Pretty no bueno. Right? But this is also, again, super simple. If I have the people near me, and let's say that we were laying down in the tree line, whatever, right? We got some defilade in front of us. If I got someone near me, I can call for assistance, unless I'm confident in my ability and I don't need help. Cool. What I'm going to do with Joe here is I'm going to apply TQs to both limbs. Once again, we're going to go high and tight. We're going to stop those bleeds. Now, IRL, the face is very vascular. Okay, there's a lot of blood vessels there. You can cut your cheek right now and you will pour blood. Promise you, unless it's superficial. So I'm going to start worrying about fixing the bleed headwise. Okay, and then I'm going to worry about the chest. Unless I have someone with me, then I'll have them focus on the chest, I focus on the head. Okay. Main reason why we're focusing on the head first in a real scenario is because I don't want to compromise his airway. If I compromise his airway, it's going to be much harder for me to manage that. Then I got to clear the obstruction while still managing to try to, use a bag valve mask or NRB, nasal cannula, whatever, to try to maintain some sort of SpO2, right? We'll get into OPAs, NPOs. We'll get into all that stuff a little bit later. The main thing is I'm not trying to compromise his airway, so I'm going to take care of the head first and stop the bleed. Right? It's also much easier to stop the bleed on a head wound than it is on the chest wound, even though it's much more vascular. A lot of the times it'd be elastic bandages, so on and so forth. Right? That being said, my other rescuer is finished. He's finished working on the chest. He just put bandages in, and I've taken care of the head. Now you might, China, I can't put bags into his arms, but you can put them into his legs. When has that ever stopped me, right? Because we have femorals, right? And we have veins and blood and arteries down there. Everywhere there's an artery, there's a vein. Okay, they kind of work hand in hand, especially all the way down to your fingertips, right? That's just a little extra knowledge there. So I'll push fluids into his legs. While I push those fluid into his legs, and that's going in, I'll start working on those wounds on the arm. Then we'll eventually take care of this, and then Joe will be combat capable again. Is this kind of making sense for you guys a little bit?
Yeah, it's pretty much the process I've had going forward as a medic.
Right, which is good.
Sorry. Just a quick question before I forget. You mentioned pneumothorax. So, have you heard that stuff like that they're actually considering doing that? So you basically have to do like NCD and stuff.
I haven't heard too much on the medical system. I just know it's supposed to be a little harder. Which
that
is
would
going to
be
be
actually really cool, but that would also make it hard.
Yeah, believe me, doing
if you get to the point where you have pneumothorax and stuff, that's complicated shit. At least if you have to do it in succession.
Well, that and 14 gauge 1 needle decompression plus a triangle bandage and having to burp that will be crazy. It'll be insane. And then still having to manage an airway. Because if we're dealing with pneumothorax, that means we're going to have to deal with managing an airway, which is going to be even crazier. And I'm telling you now, real world, if you have to intubate a patient, he's going home. You're never going to see that guy again. Promise you. Well, you might. Maybe.
Unlikely, though.
Yeah, very unlikely.
You're leaner towards ARMA, like the ARMA system, but not quite as complex.
Okay. That being said, then I would say I call them hard skills. Stopping the bleed is a hard skill, right? Like we gotta focus on that pretty heavy, and then just worrying about those wounds. If you notice, I was like, any limb that I was like, that's too much work, I'm TQing. Think it's common sense. Truthfully, it is. It's like if that's too much work and it's on a limb and I have a shortcut, I'm gonna use the shortcut. The problem with shortcuts is you open yourself up to risk, right? If this guy wakes up, I gotta tell him, hey, don't move. I'm still working on your arm, right? That's immediate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that being said, like I said, manage those wounds, prioritize superiority in the gunfight, work on the patient. Preferably with the care under fire first, right? Again, do not forget, hey, if you're still conscious, move to a position of cover while you're suppressing for him, or if you need to, if he's unable, drag him out of there. I've seen plenty of dudes in Bellum go down first engagement, right? That's unfortunate. It blows. We're gonna get to him eventually. The biggest thing as a medic is, despite like, we all have a thing in us where we want to help people, right? Like it's natural, but you have to read the room first. Can I get to this guy safely? Fuck no. You know what I mean? Like they know they got him zeroed. What you think they're gonna do to me? You know what I mean? So like, and I'm not saying to be scared or anything. I'm saying read the room, read the situation, try to change it first, and then worry about rendering aid. You know what I mean? And then directing that CCP. As a medic, you are capable of directing that CCP. I do not care what a squad leader says. I don't care what a fire team leader says. That is your CCP. You own it. You direct it. Simple. Hey, I don't need all of you riflemen here. Go get back in the gunfight. There was a situation on Camp where we were playing with a bunch of randoms, and it was like me and a couple of other TWS dudes, and for some reason, riflemen were trying to stop the bleed on a CCP where we had like 3 other medics. If I got one other medic with me, it's me and you, big dog. Me and you. I don't need nobody else. Simple.
So, what would you do in this scenario? Because it's the scenario I had.
What's the scenario that you had?
The scenario was we were taking contact at some rocks because it was Kimbari. Yeah. And pretty much most of the fire team that went down. I think it was just me and one other dude, but that other dude had passed out. I fixed up the Bravo Grenadier, and he's still knocked out because there was a lull in fire. And then I went and then I went and tried fixing the other members further away from the rocks because they weren't firing. I thought, okay, this is my time to do the work. And I had 2 other guys fixed. Bravo Grenadier gets up, and I don't know why he thought the greatest idea was to pop a Seder smoke, because I told him, please don't do that. You're going to get us all killed. And of course, as soon as he did that, they lit the RPD rip, and he was the first one to get his head blown off. And undid all the medical work I had just done.
Yeah, so it seemed, from what I'm understanding, it sounds like you did everything right. Unfortunately, you kind of can't help. Forgive me for the words I'm about to use. You can't help Darwinism.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I
what
mean?
it was.
Like, yeah, like sometimes you just can't. You can't. As much of a good medic I may be, I can't fix Darwinism. And there's been times where I've told people exactly in your position, hey, you probably shouldn't stand up. I always tell them too while they're down and I know they're about to stand up, like, hey, just letting you know, don't get up. Like you're gonna get us all killed. Right. In terms of patient management, I don't know exactly what your thought process was, but I'll tell you my thought process. Right. It sounds like you did everything right, but this is just to clarify for everybody else. You were in a mass cas, by the way, it sounds a lot of those patients sound like they were overwhelming to you, right? If I'm in a mass cas and there's 3+ patients down, my entire squad is down, so I've got 8 people down, right, excluding myself. Squad leader counts as technically another person. 8 people are down and I'm 1, and I'm working on the entirety of the squad. The first thing I'm going to do is get SA on what patients I have and what patients I can get back in the fight immediately. That is your whole job as a medic, by the way. Your whole job as a medic, yes, is to save lives, but it's also to keep people combat effective. So if I can, because think about it like this, and it is common sense, right? Like if I have a patient who's got trauma all over the place, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to worry too much about him. I'm going to go focus on this guy's got 1 GSW to the head. I can get him back up immediately. Push your bag, fluid, stop the bleed, GG, move on to the next dude. Sometimes there's you can do an immediate intervention, and this is more for managing mass cows, is like if you come across a patient and they just got a bleed to the arm and they're unconscious, I promise you, throw a TQ on, come back to that guy. he'll probably wake up and he can probably manage his own wound. If you need to do, or give him a stimulant, if you need to do something specific, you can. But like I said, the idea is I need to get as many people in this fight as I can. Sometimes it's unfortunately a pain, slow process. The hard part with Bellum is that it does kind of lack fear in the real world. So and you also don't have a whole lot of ISR. So we don't really know what kind of situations we're walking into. But this is when I start talking about like those planning things, MLCOAs, MDCOAs, so on and so forth. Like if our leadership has led us to this position where you're having to worry about that many patients, you don't have support that's near you, right? Which means you're in a shitty position. So but from how you explained it to me and like where things went wrong, I think you did fine. I think you did well. You got people up. Unfortunately, your Grenadier had probably room temperature IQ and proceeded to get people killed, including himself. That's up to him. Some people have this main character complex in a space they've never been in. I don't understand why. It just happens. Right. That being said, no, you did good. I think you did good. Everybody else can learn from you in terms of patient management. And I recommend for everybody, just keep those skills up. Keep looking, keep running through scenarios in your mind. As a medic, my primary job is to be a rifleman 100%, but my other thought process is constantly evolving what my situation is. If people go down, can I drag them to a position of cover? Sometimes too, by the way, and this is where we get to drop a little knowledge on you. If, like I mentioned earlier about where do you think people are going to send GLs and rockets? They're going to send them in structures. They're going to assume that you're in them, right? Sometimes it's better to have like standoff distance between you and that rock, so that way you can kind of waste their munitions while you're rendering aid. You know what I mean? As well as like, hey, you can assign people to go grab you patients. Truth be told, like, hey, we have enough people here. I need you to be on like, you're going to be our field leader, dude. Like, I need you to go grab people and bring them to me. You know what I mean? That's fine too. I think Bellum is adding a thing where you can carry people. That'll be pretty sick, because it'll help you get those patients to you much quicker. So I do strongly, and you can set up CCPs. Hey, squad lead, I just want to let you know I think this is a good position. I'm going to set this up as a CCP, especially if one has not been established by your platoon medic. Ideally, a good platoon medic as well for you guys, just so you know, should be within like close proximity to all of the squads, or in a position where he can direct and assist and render aid to those mass cows. Unfortunately, it's Bellum. We run everywhere. Can't really pull up in an FLA with a JBL. Unfortunate. It just sucks to suck today. But yeah, is there anything else you guys have questions on? Anything else you guys want to cover? Any other medical based questions before we call it index here?
I think you covered most of it that I'm about to mention, but I think the main problem is that I don't usually play medic as a primary role, but what I've noticed playing as the medic is I walk up on a group of guys, they're trying to get up the casualties on the ground, and you stick your head in and you say I'm taking over, and you tell the guys get security up, and sometimes good intentions get in the way, some guys keep going, then they're starting to work on limbs, you're trying to communicate with them, you find yourself packing the same wound as another guy. There's no indicator there.
Right. The big thing I do is I call it out all the time, and we do that in the real world too. It doesn't matter civilian and or military. They do the same thing. I'm telling you what I'm doing, and it's also good for patient safety too, specifically in the civilian side of things, which I'm still learning. I'm struggling to learn sometimes, but it is like communicating effectively. So if I'm working with another medic on someone, and like for example, I'm going to drop some IRL stuff here, okay? We had a patient come into our hospital who was a degloving patient. Essentially, the skin from his waist was rolled down to his ankles. Okay, no bueno, not good. So in that instance, I'm working with nurses, I'm working with doctors. We're communicating the entire time what we're doing. We're also communicating to the patient, trying to communicate with the patient, trying to serve is he semi-conscious? What is his GCS? Is he NO times 4, so on and so forth, right? So the biggest thing is effective communication with another rescuer. I call it 2 rescuer, 3 rescuer. You ideally don't want more than 2 people per patient. Ideally, you just want to be you on the patient because you know what you're doing specifically, right? But if you are 2 rescuer and you do walk into a scenario, communicate effectively. Hey, I need you to work on the chest. I'm going to work on the arm. I need to establish an IV. I need to get an IV going, right? Those are huge things. Those are much bigger than you realize. People will also be like, this guy's competent. He doesn't need my help, right? Unless you specifically state it. right? Sometimes in Bellum, like people have spotted me like, oh, China, you're on medical today, right? You'll kind of it'll kind of reverberate back to you guys as well when people are realizing who you are and how competent you are. They're not even going to question your ability, and they'll be like, what do you need? Right? A good rifleman or a good teammate will walk up to you and be like, hey, do you need help? No, I'm good. All right, and they keep it pushing. Same thing for you guys. Right. I walked up on other medics. Hey, do you need anything? No, I'm good. All right, cool. All right, later, dude, and I'll go work on somebody else. Constantly being situationally aware as a medic is huge. That's why I'm saying like it's not an easy job. It is actually kind of there's layers to it because you're a rifleman first. Right. That being said, I know I kind of answer people's questions before they like ask them, which is good. It helps me out. But is there any other questions that you guys have?
Yeah.
No?
What's the actual education you're working on?
So currently I'm a medic, paramedic, but I'm working on my nursing.
So you're doing nurse plus paramedic.
I'm already a medic, but in terms of education, I'm working on.
No, I mean more like their position. How would that combine? Like, would you be an ER nurse or something then?
Kinda, yeah. I think I know what you're asking here. So, anytime an EMT or paramedic works in a hospital, they usually are an ER tech. They're called a tech, or just they're called a paramedic. It depends on the hospital you work at in terms of what role they give you. I'm working on my nursing degree, and then after that, I'm going to go work in an ICU. That's my goal personally, right? And that's completely unrelated to the military, which I'm not doing anymore. Thank God.
Yeah,
Fuck that place. But like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's just interesting because a
Mhm.
lot of me and my family are health or hospital workers. So like my wife works at a
Okay, so
hospital,
you
I work in
understand.
a private clinic, my father-in-law is like a head of a hospital, stuff like that.
Yeah, and you're primarily EU, right?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
different, right? There's a bit of a
Yeah.
difference between our ERs and yours.
Yeah, and like we have, like I'm sure you probably know, we have obviously like first responders who do their paramedic, their EMT, interfacility transport companies. There's a ton of roles for medics and EMTs out here, but I
Can
work
you
in
go
the hospital.
straight from military medic to paramedic?
It depends on your state, but for the most part, yeah. It's you can move all those credentials from the military to civilian side, but you still have to take the exams for the country, or for this, not for the country, for the state. So for EMTs, I know this specifically is they'll transition out, but they already are made to take the NREMT to begin with, so they kind of can just go from that to straight up working. That is a thing, but also some states like. The problem is some states don't recognize AEMTs as well, so you're still going to have to take your NREMT for EMT specifically, right?
Well, kind of
And
makes
same
sense
thing
to a
for medic,
degree.
right? Like the only way to go from paramedic to civilian is to go to SOCM, which is Special Operations Combat Medic, like medical course. And that's the only way because the Army doesn't really teach people how to be paramedics when you take a whiskey contract. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Because they always most of their skills are AEMT related, advanced EMT, advanced emergency medical technician.
Yeah.
That's where the majority of their skills come from. So that's pretty much it, though.
Yeah, because I was thinking like there the breadth of injuries is like the actual severity of injuries would naturally be a higher focus in as a combat medic, but in general there's a lot more to types of injuries that you would encounter as an EMT or paramedic.
Right, 100%.
Cool, nice to know.
Absolutely. If you guys, I guess in-game time to TQ is the same time to advantage. Yeah, see, I didn't even know that. I guess it makes sense though. For non-medics, it's still probably better to TQ. Yeah, I mean, the hard part, from what I understand about Bellum, though, in terms of TQs, is that they cause pain and can make people pass out. So I guess be careful with that, just in case, because you don't want to cause someone to go unconscious unnecessarily. Because we don't like
changed it.
Did they change it? If they did change it, by all means.
Yeah, so they pass out now from blood level instead of pain.
Okay, so you don't actually pass out from pain anymore because that was an issue a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
so what does actually pain do now?
Yeah, I'm curious.
I don't think it does anything currently, but that's
So
going
they
to change.
just removed the functionality of pain. You just have like the screen thing.
Well, there is also like your hands shake.
Oh, I think I've seen that
I'm not
actually.
sure. I'm not sure if that's from just from low blood or if that's also from pain.
Because
But
both of them
there is
should
some
do that
effect.
in that case.
And it's also from like if your arms are wounded. But I'm not sure exactly how that connects to pain or not.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. When I get more information, I'll definitely be sure to relay it to you guys. Especially when, definitely reach out to me when the advanced medical system comes out. You can also reach out to me. Like, you guys can message me independently. Anyways, it could be. I work nights, right? So forgive me if I was a little all over the place today. When I got home, I saw the message from War, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll be up in 4 hours." So forgive me if I was a little all over the place today. But I do work nights, so if you guys have questions, and specifically you guys are EU, you guys can send those questions to me if they're medically related. Even if it's you're curious about things you can do like in your real life, if you want to pursue something, definitely reach out. I help people IRL anyways. I answer questions all the time. That's just the kind of person I am. I like to build people up. So if you guys want to learn more, reach out to me. I'm always developing things on this kind of on the side, really. So other than that, you guys are free to leave and no longer listen to me yap unless you got further questions.
Cool. Thanks for your time, China.
Thank
Absolutely,
you, brother.
It was great.
It was great. It was great.
Hell yeah.
See you in game.
Later, dude. See
See
you
you,
in game.
boys.
Bye.
By the way, China, quick